Welcome back. You are watching The Core, coming to you live from Channels Television Studios in Abuja, and we are talking about the Nigerian media. If you want to, you can join the conversation on our social media handle, Twitter at Channels TV or at Kadria Ahmed, using the hashtag #NGTheCore. I'd like to take a few more comments from the audience before we start talking about the issue of social media. Maybe the gentleman in brown, and then there's two ladies in front, and then we'll come back to the panel.
Okay, my name is Mani Onumono, and I'm a media consultant. I've followed the media all through development stages, but I found out that what has really been the problem with the media is about ownership. A lot of professionals are not in the ownership of the media today, and so this is what you find. I'm sure Dr. Liman, who comes from the BBC, would agree with me that capacity building is a very important part of media development. Most times you'd find that staff are hardly trained. The media is the only place perhaps that you'll find people straight from the university into the studios without any form of training. I'm a lawyer. I would not have been to court without going through the law school. Okay. So a lot of times you find that capacity building is lacking. And
but it costs money, and we've said that a lot of times media owners are not putting money back into the business. So it's one of those catch-22
But that has to do with the points raised by somebody earlier on, that they prefer not to pay the salaries of staff and look good on their own. So how do you justify that? Okay, I'm going to come to the two ladies, and then I'm going to go to the back very quickly, because there's a media owner there that's just sort of smirking and smiling, and I want to hear what he has to say. Please, the lady in red. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Adora Onyechara. I'm a broadcast journalist. I anchor Kakaki, the African Voice, and also produce Gender and AIT. I still go back to skill set. You cannot give what you don't have. And it's a case of garbage in, garbage out for a lot of organizations. He said something really significant about, training, which I think is one of the key structures of any good media houses. For example, you find media houses who organize, short courses or short trips abroad for training. And you find out that the key administrative, department, or people who are in charge of managing the key shows in that organization are not the ones to go for that training. You find people in the management or even the bosses go, and they don't take advantage of that trip. And all you see are pictures on social media, posing with Amampur and coming back. But there is no relative knowledge passed down to the people who need to endorse that knowledge and bring it back to the people. So it still goes back to, skill set and the structure of the organization.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Osasu Igbenejo. I'm the host of the Osasu Show on AIT. I believe the two key factors of the dysfunction of the media today is poor funding from the private sector and also government repression. And I'm happy the distinguished senator is here today. I would have hoped that we would have had a representative of the private sector on here as well, because running an independent program on AIT, I have two banks that usually sponsor my programs. But when I went to Southern Kaduna and Agatu to investigate the headsmen clash, they told me specifically, do not put our ads on that show because of fear of the backlash of the government. So that's another thing that we really have to look into. Distinguished senator was the one who sponsored the social media, what I like to call the social media repression bill. And we really need to discuss this, how we can become really independent. And I believe these are the two factors that...
Okay. So quickly, actually, because we were talking about the social media and the impact it's had on the traditional media. Have your views about social media changed since you sponsored that bill?
In fact, it has further been rekindled. If you give me another opportunity, I will still bring that bill down, because I love my country very well. The intricacies that exist in this country does not give room for the kind of freedom that we have given to social media in this country. And I have no apology over that. And I will tell you that I'm happy that those who thought at the beginning that that was a repressive law have come to find out that the havoc, somebody just said it, let me use his word, that the havoc that social media has done to this country will take us a very long time to replace.
Not politicians, social media. Not the havoc politicians have caused.
No, of course they did. They did. See, I'm not. Let me put it this way.
It seems to me it's a bit like scapegoating, because I mean, sure, Nigeria does have big problems, but I don't think the advent of social media is largely responsible for them.
No,
surely.
No, I think maybe if you have a president who came to stand by the social media when the bill came and said he wasn't going to sign that law. And then you now again had him 2 years later saying that he has observed that they have crossed the lines and have endangered national security, and then you should take him serious.
I want to bring you this on this issue.
It's really tragic that a senator of the Federal Republic would come on national television really to talk about this bill, which he says, if given the opportunity, he would bring it back. For some of us who lived through the repression of the 80s and 90s, the marches, the streets, the death of journalists, bombing of journalists, closure of newspaper houses, and so on, I feel particularly pain. I don't think social media is the least of our problem in Nigeria. There is nothing social media is doing that even those in governance are not doing multiple times over. So what's the problem? If you have an educated, the rest of the world has moved forward. The issue of media literacy, news literacy is huge. People are being taught to analyze, understand, appreciate news, and so on. So I think it's a non-starter.
In your view, the issue is not social media, it's us. It's our society, it's the issues that
the platform
we have
is there, whether social media or not. It's what we feed it in. So that what we feed it is a reflection of that same crisis, who we are, the problem we are facing as a nation.
What are your views? Because you are active on social media.
I thought I would have had the opportunity to say it is even more tragic that somebody who has put in so much effort, has taken so much risk in making this country of what it is, will sit down and watch somebody who has not played that role.
That's why I will not allow anybody to trample on that freedom.
So that's the thing.
Those of us who went to prison, who were detained, who shed blood to get this freedom we enjoy today, will not allow anybody to constrain that freedom.